Good evening, Guam. I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to this edition of The Buzz. Interesting guests and actually exciting guests. My old buddy, Senator Chris Duenas. How are you doing tonight, Senator?
Senator, I'm doing excellent. Thank you for this opportunity to be with you tonight on The Buzz.
Well, it's always great to have you because, you know, whenever I have you on, it's always some major legislation that causes a bit of a bit of ruckus out there. But anyway, this is a good. This is not a piece of legislation. Kind of, sort of.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a resolution that you introduced, Resolution 135-32. Basically, it's requesting the delegate or Guam delegate to again introduce legislation for an annual congressional appropriation, and this is basically to pay down the $500 million plus that is owed in the compact impact reimbursement, right?
That's correct, Senator. And of course, the residents of Guam don't have to go too far back in terms of understanding the impact and the ongoing impact of hosting our brothers and sisters from the FSM. Over a couple of decades now, to include, I believe, at least one, maybe two renegotiations, Senator, Guam has never had a seat at the table.
Sure.
With regard to this bilateral agreement between the United States government and the Federated States of Micronesia. I've admired all of the delegates, the governor, many senators throughout the legislatures with the leadership and the oversight responsibility to deal with federal issues and other just general GovGuam issues, and their efforts going to Washington, knocking on doors at the Department of Defense, the Department of Interior, the Department of Education, the Department of Justice, all the way up to meeting with the President and the like. And so far, Senator, it's really yielded nothing with regard to a recognition, a lot of recognition, I would say, maybe in the OEA of Office of Economic Adjustment within Congress, recognition even with President Obama in his 2008 campaign as he was luring the voters of Guam and actually actively campaigned here. His literature indicated a number of things, to include war reparations, but very prominently as well, compact impact. So, Senator, I think with this resolution, what we're asking to do is kind of step up our game and basically respectfully request that our Congresswoman actually introduce legislation to recognize the debt, on an annual basis to introduce a bill, in Congress that would appropriate $50 million in excess of what's required or what's the current share for Guam, and actually to increase the share as well, Senator. And this isn't a recognition, and as the resolution states, the research is really clear all the way up to 2002. By the Bureau of Statistics and Plans, and then from 2002 now to 2012, the grand total that the Bureau of Stats and Plans has put together is upwards of $800 million.
Wow, it has grown.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And Senator, I know there has been some calls within the public, folks that I've met, that have said, you haven't, discussed the economic impact in terms of the positive economic impact. And I can understand that. But Jesse, even if you calculated that, we know that that the folks that are arriving here on our shores are generally of modest means, to be kind. But even at that, we know they're in the workforce. We appreciate that. We appreciate many of them taking advantage of the opportunity for a better life. We all understand that.
But Senator, I'm glad you mentioned that, because actually shortly after you came out with the resolution, actually this was endorsed by I think the FSM consulate that was endorsed and said, hey, we understand Guam was never at the table. We definitely understand that. We agree with it, or he agrees with it basically, and I'm sure he's speaking for his government.
Yeah, I was very excited. Not only did he do so in a KUM interview, but he also, the Consul General for the FSM also called my office. Several leaders, to include the legal counsel for the FSM, called my office. Many prominent local FSM members as well, to include one gentleman, I'll leave his name out for now, but he's well known down at Matson, is working to hook me up with individuals that actually were part of the charter from the FSM side who understand and support our efforts. So you're right, and you know, Senator, I think it's really important for our audience tonight to understand that this is not an anti-FSM effort. This is a pro-Guam effort.
You know, as a matter of fact, let's go back a little bit, because I know during the 2008 presidential campaign, of course, the talking points of the Obama campaign that set up an office here, and I read through his basic talking points and campaign promises, most especially for Guam, you know, and he made light of the fact that he's an island boy, and you know, he's delivered to the Filipino vets and all that, and so, hey, look, I've delivered in the Senate, and I'm going to deliver for you. And he made that promise. And one of the things he said, that in the 2009 negotiation, the renegotiation of the compact impact, the United States and freely associated states of Micronesia, that was supposed to be taken up at that time.
That's right.
What came out of that?
Well, you know, unfortunately, Senator, nothing. And I read that into the record when the good Congresswoman came down to the legislature months ago, concerned about a resolution that was drafted by all members of the legislature, 32nd Guam legislature, expressing support, however, concern over what the Congresswoman had to do to move forward on war reparations. And that was to provide for a place mark, if you would, because of the fiscal constraints currently in the Congress and in the United States overall, but particularly in the House, and to actually have to find a funding source, which was now, and we recognize at least as the bill goes forward, our opportunities on Section 30 funds.
Sure.
You know, one of the main concerns I had in many of our members, although we ended up passing the resolution with some amendments, was, and we put in these amendments, was the fact that why, with all of this past due and overdue compact impact funds, wouldn't we use that? Sure. You know, the woman at the time said, you know, that is a little bit less firm than, of course, the Section 30 funds. But, you know, we believed with the recognition of the president himself, then Senator, Island Boy, understanding our needs and our requirements would follow through. Unfortunately, at this time, we haven't seen any action with regard to that.
Well, you know, what baffles me in this whole thing is when we have a federal consent decree here in Guam, like the ORDOT dump, and the bad economic situation that we're in, and at one point we were paying $1 million on a weekly basis. I think you were serving the legislature when we were paying that amount on a weekly basis, and I think it went about 4 or 5 weeks, and we're doing that. And the consent decree and the, of course, the federal receiver, he say, your other problems are not my problems. I'm here to solve this. So our economic situation, our delegate at this point is saying, hey, let's be realistic in Congress is that, you know, money's hard to come by. I'm saying, well, money's hard to come by, but this is a debt that is owed. And so, okay, they can't in one time pay the $500 million, or $800 million, now it's close to $1 billion. Well, you're asking, say, hey, we'll break it down. If it's not $50 million, hey, show us something. Yeah. I mean, we fulfill our requirements on an annual basis to submit the impact of the compact. And so that being said, again, endorsed by the folks from the FSM or the council from the FSM, why are we finding excuses now for the federal side when it comes to the federal enforcement of things here in Guam is that we don't care about the situation. We have to enforce this federal consent decree.
You know, and I think that's really important. As many people know.
Hold on to that thought, okay? I got to take a quick break, pay some bills, and then we'll come back to repeat that, okay? We'll be right back.